Sure.
And as that demand grew, the workload for me, myself as a freelancer was too much for me to handle. And over time, I've managed to scale my business from just a one-man operation to a team of 20 people located around the world. And we're helping solve some of the most interesting challenges across a variety of different industries right now.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our goal is to inspire and empower our listeners to live their best audacious lives ever. It's totally a pleasure to have you with us, and I appreciate the folks that have tuned in, checked out the podcast, and embarking on this journey with us. Now, speaking of journeys, I think the journey from a comfortable corporate job to entrepreneurial success in AI software development is like stepping out of a well-furnished house into the wilderness, where every step requires discipline, resilience, and a growth mentality to navigate the unknown terrain and reach the destination of success. In our conversation today with Sid Sriram, he delves into the importance of a multifaceted approach to success, focusing on the pillars of fitness, finances, and family. We learn how these aspects intertwine to create a balanced and fulfilling life. He's a visionary. Sid's a visionary entrepreneur and the founder of Next Gen AI Solutions, a prominent AI software development firm with a background in software development and a passion for technology. Sid's journey from a freelancer to a global business leader showcases the power of determination and perseverance. His expertise and experience in AI software development make him a valuable guest for today's episode, where we explore not only his entrepreneurial journey, but also his insights on success, resilience, and personal growth. So without any further ado, check out our conversation with Sid. Enjoy. Hey, Sid, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here, my friend.
For sure, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to be able to engage in dialogues that will help individuals live the best audacious life that we talk about here. And it's not going to be the same for everyone. That path that we take, it's not going to be the exact same, but it is important that we take that first step and begin that journey, if you will. Because I oftentimes talk about on the other side of adversity is all the greatness lies, and so we want to get to the other side. And so turning to you got a few things under your on your plate, between being a bodybuilder and obviously you're involved in the tech industry, in the tech space. So I certainly want to hear about that, but you really have a passion for technology, and from that it's taught you some really valuable lessons that you are openly sharing. So maybe as a starting point, if you can fill our audience in a little bit about you and the work that you do.
Sounds great. So my name's Sid Sriram, 25 years old, based in Miami, Florida. I'm the CEO and founder of Next Gen AI Solutions, which is an AI software development firm. I started this company around 2 years ago on my own, bootstrapped it from scratch. My story basically began as a freelancer. I started as a one-man show, working on my own as a software developer, taking on these projects for various companies who wanted AI developed for them. And then as the months and years went on, gradually the demand and market for AI grew and grew and grew. And
Mm-hmm.
we both seen how much hype there is in the market over the past couple of months.
Sure.
And as that demand grew, the workload for me, myself as a freelancer was too much for me to handle. And over time, I've managed to scale my business from just a one-man operation to a team of 20 people located around the world. And we're helping solve some of the most interesting challenges across a variety of different industries right now. And aside from just my business pursuits, I'm also a competitive athlete. I compete in bodybuilding, and I do that just because I'm an athlete and competitor at heart. And aside from just business and monetary pursuits, taking care of fitness and mental and physical well-being is also super important to me. So that's who I am, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, no, listen, so first off, thank you for sharing your story. I want to start with the bodybuilding aspect because you said something really interesting that resonates with me deeply, and in terms of the sort of the mental wellness component that bodybuilding does. So I'd like to expand on that, but maybe if you can sort of how did you get into it as a starting point?
Sure. So I've always been into training. I've been training in the gym actively for around like 6 years at this point, and then around like 2 years of actively competing. And I would say essentially what really got me into it was going to the Mr. Olympia competition as a spectator around
Mm,
3 years ago in 2021. I went there as a spectator, and I was just so inspired after meeting people that I look up to, some of the top athletes in the world. And
hmm.
one of the main realizations I got is that my definition of success is it doesn't have to be so like one dimensional, like success in only like the athletic realm or the business realm. I realized there are people out there who really like have it all. Like you can
Yeah.
succeed in all aspects simultaneously. And that's what kind of inspired me to start competing. And I realized that getting that competition schedule, that strict routine, discipline with training and nutrition, I could apply all those concepts to the business world as well. And I've been competing ever since and plan to be doing it for the next 5, 10 years at least.
The discipline component is the one that I think is really, really important. And I can definitely see the correlations between that space and going into the business world. Like you have to have that discipline. How do you develop it?
I would say the discipline is just, it really just comes down to setting standards for yourself. Like one of the standards I have for myself is that I will never consume vices. I will never drink, smoke, eat junk food. I will never partake in any of these things. And when it comes to other things, also with timing, I will never sleep past the sun being out.
Mm,
So I would say I just set like a very high standard for myself. And in order to even meet that standard, since the standard is set so high, there needs to be a certain level of habits that need to be integrated in my daily life. For example, like every single meal I eat is meal prep down to the gram. And
gotcha.
I would say that because these standards that I set for myself are so high, then the discipline isn't even like something that I have to try to do. It's just like a byproduct of the standards.
Got you. Gotcha. The the standards can do so much for us, and there's really neat about that. If you establish it, and then you start to just follow it, it becomes a way of life, and you just do, and you don't think about doing. You're not conscious. You just do, and that's kind of the sort of the sweet spot where you want to be. How does resilience come into play? Because you're gonna face resilience whether you're in the business world or bodybuilding.
Definitely, I've had my fair share of challenges throughout the past couple of years
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the athletic side of things, like getting injured, getting sick, losing competitions that I tried really hard to win, or even on the business side, I faced setbacks in the span of like losing business opportunities, failing to close deals, losing large sums of money because of business partnerships that went wrong. There are all sorts of negative things that can happen to us that derail us off our goals. And I think building that resilience to push past these negative situations
Mm-hmm.
and keep going at it despite them, I think it really boils down to the routine. And
Uh-huh.
it ties right back into what I was talking about, the standards. In order
Mm-hmm.
to meet those standards, I need to follow a certain routine. Every single morning, I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. I'm starting the day with some daily positive visualization. I'm
Beautiful.
starting the day with reading some positive books, philosophical books. Right after that, I go into a workout followed by healthy meals.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a good day or a bad day, no matter what, these certain habits,
Mm-hmm.
these certain systems, they're going to happen regardless of whether it's a good day or a bad day. And those would keep me grounded and keep me pushing forward. Because if you're to read business books every single day for a year, if you're
Mm-hmm.
to work out every single day for a year, no matter what, you are going to become smarter and stronger.
Right.
It's just like a natural byproduct. And that's the way I think about it. I think we're just a product of our habits, our daily habits. So if you can repeat something over and over and over for months and years, then you will see a result. It might take longer for one person or the other, but the result will come.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love that. I do love that consistency and the results in the long run come. And sometimes we don't see the incremental steps. We don't see the small pieces as you go, but they definitely are there. How did you get into the AI space? You said you're a software developer, and not only did you get in the AI space, but you open your own company. Talk about that. How that came to be.
So I got very fortunate because I got into the AI space before all this media hype came around. And I say this all the time that regardless of the industry, regardless of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
the early movers in any space reap the majority of the rewards. The first 20% of people to get into any industry reap 80% of the rewards.
Mm.
So I would say the way I actually first got my feet wet with AI is back in college. I think in around like 2019 is when I started taking some initial courses that my school offered about AI. And then just like seeing my peers go their own different routes, like within the technology, I studied computer science in college, by the way, but
Okay. Okay.
even within computer science, there's many different routes that someone can pursue. You can go down like the apps, websites development route. You can go down like cybersecurity. You can go down AI. You can go down this crypto and blockchain route. There's many different routes that one can choose. But I had my eyes set on purely AI just because I recognized from a young age that there was so much market opportunity in this field that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't capitalized on. So even when all my peers were going down their own different routes as the years passed on from school, I was kind of like single-mindedly focused on just becoming an expert and a market leader in AI.
Okay.
And I did that by just obsessively reading books, obsessively taking courses, obsessively going to conferences.
Right. And so the intent was that you were trying to be a leader or just trying to gain information?
I think, I think at that time it was more just for gaining information, just because I was truly like passionate about learning
Yeah.
about the subject. Because at this point of time, I wasn't even making any money off of it. I was just
Right.
purely doing it out of the love of the knowledge. And fast forward from like 2019 to 2022 is when I got like my first freelance opportunity. And before that, I was working like a 9 to 5 job as a software developer
Mm-hmm.
and just your typical run of the mill, like office 9 to 5 job. And when I got this first freelance opportunity, I realized like, hey, I can take the risk and just go all in on this, or I can stay in this 9 to 5 job where the pay is steady, I get these benefits, but the progression is so low, the upside is so low. So I took that risk in 2022. I quit my corporate job. I
Wow.
came into the AI space. That same time, I just like dropped everything. I was living in New Jersey at the time and I moved to Miami and I was just doing this freelancing opportunity. And then that allowed me to build my resume out, build my
Yeah.
profile
Yeah.
up. Slowly, my reputation started growing as someone who was an expert in this space. And then that's when the more opportunities started pouring in, and then it just grew to like a compounding effect since then.
That's a big deal. Start dropping everything and just moving, man. Like, were you scared?
Definitely, I was very scared at that time. And uh, before that, I was living with my parents. Actually, my mom, especially, she was like trying everything to convince me not to do it. You know how parents are, they
Yeah.
always want you to take the safe and steady
Sure,
route.
sure, sure.
But I just like had so much belief in this market opportunity that I was like, hey, like worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, if I go broke, I'll just like come back home. So really it's not
Yeah.
really that big of a risk at the end of the day.
Right, 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 right,
And
right.
yeah, the fear was definitely there, but I think that fear is one of the strongest motivators we can have.
Talk about that. Why do you say that?
I think like so take for example two people, one is earning 50K a year and one is earning 100K per year. They've been working a job for 10 years. And all of a sudden, the 100K per year guy, he gets a job loss and his income drops to 50K per year. Even though both these people are at the same income level,
Hmm.
the first person who's been used to this way of life, used to that 50K per year paycheck, they're going to be comfortable. They don't have any reason to change. They're used to that way of life. Whereas the second guy who was used to a higher standard of living and then all of a sudden drops, he's going to be fearful. He's like, oh my God, my income has dropped to half. How do I get back up there? So I think fear, fear of change, fear of loss is the most strong driving force for anyone to achieve success in
Right.
life. And
Mm.
if someone is just comfortable in their way of life, they have a happy life, they're making enough money to get by, then there's no reason for them to even grow. And I see that in so many people. They get like this one high paying job or
Hmm.
they achieve some metric in their life
Yep.
that they wanted for so long. And then after that, it's just flat.
Flatline. Yeah, yeah. Because like,
It's
what's next? And I think so. I think in that instance, the continuous improvement, constant learning, open to growth, that kind of approach or viewpoint is what'll keep you from being stagnant.
Yeah, and you see it all the time with people like they get so comfortable and it takes like some terrible life situation to drive them to improve, like especially with men, like they get divorced or they get their job lost and then all of a sudden they get this switch off in their brain and they're like, shit, I gotta work 10 times harder because
Hmm.
this just happened to me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can see that. I can see that. Um, Challenges are a way of life. I talked off the top about how we all going to run obstacles and challenges. With this sort of type of viewpoint or mindset that's focusing on growth that we just talked about, how does that help one overcome obstacles and challenges that they face?
So just to clarify, you're asking like how does this like growth mentality help deal with challenges?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure. So 100%, I think the growth mentality is necessary because I think it's never really possible for someone to just stay at the same place in life. You're either growing or you're regressing.
Mm,
And when you're in that, as I mentioned, like the comfort state where there's no reason for you to even grow because you're comfortable with the way of life, then there's no growth that happens during that time. And there is no challenge. So when you're in that comfort state, if a challenge does come, all of a sudden, like your entire life gets uprooted and it goes to chaos. And you see it all the time with people, like, because there's all sorts of unforeseen things that could happen, like job loss. Some
yeah.
weather comes and destroys your home or something. We've been seeing it in the news. And I think that my personal view on that is rather than wait for life to come and put those unexpected challenges on me, why don't I just put those challenges on myself? So it's
Mm,
not so unexpected when it comes.
right.
So when it comes to business or athletics, like with bodybuilding, always trying to push to the next level, make the
Yeah.
workout harder and harder every day. When it comes to business, always try to take risks and see what I can do to get to the next level, because I never want to end up in that complacency, comfort mindset, because
Gotcha.
then when the challenges does hit, because it's gonna come, then I'll be like thrown off my entire routine.
Hmm. Hmm. Why is it important to take risks in our lives?
I think risks are what make life worth living at the end of the day, because there's just so much to the human experience. I think that it's a shame for someone to grow old without experiencing the full breadth of the human experience, both the bottoms of the bottoms to the highs of the highs, and without taking that risk, getting out of the comfort zone, those experiences will never happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think you raise a really really good point when you talk about that comfort zone and what and it's kind of ironic because the comfort zone is supposed to be a safe and wonderful place. It's comfortable. However, it can be very detrimental to us from our overall well-being growth standpoint.
Definitely. And I think going back to my own story, I mentioned I was living in New Jersey. I was working this corporate job. I
Mhm.
was definitely in my comfort zone, and it came back to bite me.
Mm.
Actually, one of the big challenges that I faced in my life is when I was so comfortable. I was working this corporate job. I was getting a steady paycheck. I was pretty much getting all the benefits of corporate life with like the
Yep.
insurance perks, paid time off, all that shit. And
Hmm.
then like I was also wasting my potential as a result. I was taking the money that I was making and I was doing destructive things with it. I was going out partying, clubbing all the time. I was doing
Mm.
drugs, smoking weed, and I was 100% in the comfort zone at that time. And it
Right.
came back to bite me so hard because I got drug tested at my job. I got fired for doing drugs. And then that was like a complete wake up call for me to immediately change my way of life,
Mm.
change my way of thinking, and get out of this comfort zone.
Did you know the things you were doing in the moment? Like, did you know that they were detrimental to you, or were you conscious about that at all?
I mean, I think at that point in my life, I was definitely aware of the damage I was doing to myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had this like false feeling of like invincibility, because
Mm.
and I think that's such a dangerous feeling for someone to have when you think you're invincible and nothing bad can possibly happen, because life will come and kick you in the ass right when you least expect it.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like you've taken a lot from those experiences. So that when you think back to where you were and where you are now, do you recognize that person?
Not at all. Like it's just so like night and day. Like the people I used to interact with completely changed my circle, completely changed my environment, completely changed my way of life. And I'm so grateful for making those changes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I listen, I think it's phenomenal that just sharing your story with respects to sort of what your journey looked like. And I think there's so much that people sort of can take from that. So thank you for sharing that. If there was sort of one last thing that you wanted to leave with individuals that they knew to get to that better place and or achieve the level of success, what is it do you think that is?
I think touching back to the whole concept of your podcast, living that audacious life, I'll really boil it down to what my definition of a successful life is.
Hmm.
'Cause I think my definition may be different than what most people may think, because I think of it as a very multifaceted approach. I call it like the three F's,
Yep.
and I call it like fitness, finances, family. Those are the three most important things that I live my life by. Because
Hmm.
just getting rich financially, that doesn't make me happy. That doesn't really lead to any broader fulfillment for my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And taking care of my mental and physical health, that's also paramount, because without a functioning body and mind, then nothing else matters. And then family, 100%. I want to make money, become financially successful so I can provide more to my family rather than out of selfish reasons. So if there was one thing I could really leave to any viewer, I would say just strive for commitment to excellence in all three of those areas. Don't over focus on just one. And yeah, you can really have it all. You can do all three.
Yeah, no, I think that's some solid advice, and thank you for identifying fitness, family, and finances. I think they are all three can give you an individual that satisfaction that they're looking for and level of success. So, Sid, this has been great for listeners that wanted to connect with you directly or learn more about your work. Where can we send them?
I think the best places to connect with me are either on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm most active on those platforms. My Instagram is Sid X Sriram. That's SIDXSRIRAM. And then on LinkedIn, you can just search me by my name, Sid Sriram.
Gotcha. Well, look, Sid, this has been good. Really, really good, actually. I think the young man going through the lessons that you had to learn, but figuring it out and then turning them to figure out how you want to live your life, certainly something to be commended. Thank you. And thank you for being here on the Audacious Living Podcast.
It was a pleasure to be here, man. Keep doing your thing.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. I will. But you got to do the same. Promise to do the same.
Of course, we keep living that audacious life.
I love it. Back we are on the podcast. As we reflect on our conversation, we said one key takeaway emerges as to achieve success in any endeavor, one must embrace discipline, cultivate resilience in the face of challenges, and adopt a growth mentality that propels them forward towards their goals. If you'd like to learn more about Sid Sriram and connect with him directly, you certainly encourage you to do so. His Instagram handles, which will be in the show notes below, as well as his LinkedIn profile, is a great way to reach out to him and continue the conversation with his inspiring entrepreneur. I want to thank you for tuning into the Audacious Living Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider following, or subscribing to our podcast if you haven't done so already, because that's how we continue to grow and inspire more people. Join us on the next time for more empowering conversations and insights. Remember, be audacious in all that you do. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.